Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's now time for our spiritual gurus to address the gathering with a short 2-minute blessings, please. Firstly, I'd like to welcome Maharaja Tony Nader, leader of Transcendental Meditator.
Namaste, Honorable Vice President Dakarji and Madam Dakarji, Honorable Minister of Culture, Honorable Governors, great holy and honored spiritual leaders, guests. I'd like to express my great honor to be able to briefly reflect on this great assembly. And the first thought that comes to mind is gratitude to the organizers, to the government and the Ministry of Culture, and particularly to Daji's wonderful presence, reception, and big heart in receiving us. I would summarize the main points of the great assembly of spirituality in 2 points, one theoretical and one practical. Theoretical is to explore the nature of ultimate reality. And there is nowhere, anywhere in the world more than in India in terms of seekers of truth, seekers of higher reality, seekers of ultimate reality. And they have done that in the inward direction. We are familiar with West meets East, where the West looks in the outward direction, in the objective world, whereas in this part of the world, in this great land of the Veda, the investigation, the research has been inwards. And the findings today, which used to be thought separate, are actually converging. Because even as objectivity looks very deep into the nature of objects, it has found that objects are made out of fields, ultimately from the atom to elementary particles to fields of energy that have been more and more unified, looking now at a unified field, which is there is only one field in nature that manifests itself into multiple fields. From the great land of the Veda, we have the great seers who have described exactly the same reality as being one unbounded ocean of pure being, pure consciousness. So these two values have merged, and they show us that the unified field is truly Atma, the self of everything and everyone. And not only Atma as the self, but I am Atma Brahm, which means everything is that consciousness, which takes us to Advaita Vedanta and the convergence of all reality. That is ultimate reality, which has many layers on its surface. And the second part is the means. How do we actually make life better for everyone? How we create happiness, prosperity, and peace on earth. And that is by using the reality of life, not using the ignorance that things are different on the surface. That's true, but they seem to be unconnected, whereas everything is a field of being expressing itself into multiplicity. And when we transcend, go beyond the surface, we find that we are the infinite, unbounded Atma, infinite, pure being, which is the self of everything and everyone. And research has shown that when we go there, modern scientific research has shown improvement in health, ability to be more productive, more creative, and as groups practicing these transcendental meditation programs, they lead to peace on earth, which have been demonstrated through 116 scientific research studies, many of which published in great reputable scientific journals and peer-reviewed. So we have the true knowledge of ultimate reality from this great land of the Veda, Veda Bhumi Bharat, and we have the means, the technologies with it to be able to use that knowledge for life on earth to be heavenly life and for life to be better and to be fulfilling for everyone. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
I now call upon Maharaja Dr. Tony Nader, globally recognized Vedic scholar, as Maharishi Mahesh Yogi's successor. Dr. Nader is head of the International Transcendental Meditation Organizations in over 100 countries. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Maharaja Dr. Tony Nader.
Holy and honorable spiritual leaders, honored guests and assembly participants, our gratitude to India as a whole for the eternal knowledge and wisdom that it offers to the world. Our gratitude to the government of India, the Ministry of Culture, and Daji for convening this great assembly. This most auspicious assembly is unified by its acknowledgement of the existence of an aspect of reality which is not material. All spiritual leaders highlight and emphasize the importance of attending to an aspect of life which is beyond matter and even beyond physical energy, a reality which is transcendental to surface sensory perception. The relationship between the physical and non-physical has for millenniums inspired great debates in philosophy and religion, and recently also in science. There are physicalists on one extreme who propose that there is nothing spiritual, that consciousness and awareness are not real, but the illusory byproducts, epiphenomena of the physical activity of the human nervous system. At best, physicalists see consciousness as a conundrum. They often call it a hard problem, because mechanical objective reality cannot lead to subjective personal experiences. There are dualists who propose that reality is made out of two aspects, one objective, material, and one subjective, non-material. The questions that arise in dualist points of view relate to how these two fundamentally different entities, one natural, obeying strict laws, and the other seemingly supernatural, how these two interact and influence each other. Explanations resorting to supernatural powers are seen by scientists with skepticism. Scientists shy away from justifications that do not conform to objective laws. The Advaita Vedantic perspective, as brought to light by Shankara, Swami Vivekananda, and emphasized more recently by His Holiness Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, presents consciousness as primary. Not only primary, but all that there is. All being is consciousness, and it is consciousness that appears as becoming. All that is and all that becomes is consciousness. This is Advaita Vedanta. We propose that this Vedic perspective solves all the problems and conundrums of philosophy and science. On one hand, there is no hard problem of consciousness, since consciousness is all there is. Consciousness is also natural, at the same time immanent and transcendental. Indeed, what appears as supernatural is due to ignorance of more fundamental laws of nature. If one was to pretend 200 years ago that it is possible for two people to talk to each other and see each other across long distances, this would have been considered magical and supernatural. Today, we know with video conferencing, it is natural for everyone to do it across the globe and beyond. The past 100 years of scientific research revealed, for example, that correlation and action at a distance and faster than the speed of light is a reality as demonstrated by the phenomenon of entanglement. Being in many places at the same time is now understood as a natural phenomenon described by wave functions on the quantum mechanical level. Uncertainty and randomness in the behavior of elementary particles open the possibility of freedom even within the constraints of strict deterministic laws. These and other discoveries in modern science baffle scientists who describe them as weird or spooky. Most significantly, they beg for answers and explanations which can only come from a fundamental shift of paradigm from materialist, physicalist perspectives to consciousness-based Vedantic worldview. When examined carefully, consciousness is the one thing we can be 100% sure about, particularly in the constantly changing physical aspects of manifestation. The logic for consciousness-based Vedantic worldview is nevertheless not based only on theoretical considerations. I have had the joy and chance to work with Maharishi Mahesh Yogi on the relationship between Veda as expression of consciousness and the material world as expressed in our human physiology. And I have discovered under his guidance that Veda is a blueprint of our body, that the Vedic sounds, the Vedic shlokas, the Vedic sutras and suktas are actually organized as a perfect science that is replicated in actually our human physiology. This is an indication of how experience in consciousness through Vedic cognition actually is the experience of the laws of nature as they manifest in our body and in the universe. So Veda is a blueprint of creation. It's the architectural design that creates and maintains the entire universe in perfect order. Hundreds of scientific research studies on technologies of consciousness, particularly Maharishi's transcendental meditation programs, have shown profound effects in transforming individual and social life with improvements in mind, health, as well as social, national, and international relations, with reduction in conflict, demonstrating how permanent world peace can be created. Just as the coherence of an individual's consciousness determines their behavior, so the coherence of the collective consciousness of many individuals influence social behavior. Practice of the Transcendental Meditation Program and the Transcendental Meditation Siddhi Program, brought to light by His Holiness Maharishi Mahesh Yogi from the Vedic tradition, produces a powerful influence of coherence in both individual and collective consciousness, reducing both individual and social stress. Most significantly, to achieve world peace, it is not necessary for all individuals everywhere to devote themselves to developing their inner peace. There is a shortcut. It is called the Maharishi effect. The Maharishi effect is the positive result when 1% of a population practices the transcendental meditation technique, or the square root of 1% of a population practices the advanced TM and TM Siddhi programs together in one place. It is characterized by significant improvements in societal trends, decreasing negative factors such as crime, accidents, hospital admissions, and indicators of conflict and violence, including war death, and increasing positive economic and social tendencies. The usual methods of crime prevention, such as policing and corrections, and of conflict resolution, such as military presence and diplomacy, have shown only temporary and minimal results. They rest on coercion or negotiation, while the underlying problems of high stress levels with limited consciousness and narrow awareness remain reduced, remain limited. This reduced vision and creativity manifest as economic and social turmoil. These cannot be resolved by force and compromise. A worldview that considers physicality and material possessions as primary and all there is will always lead to conflict, opportunism with short-term, narrow and limited perspectives. Leaders who aim to administer societies effectively turn to science for guidance. Besides the hundreds of scientific research of benefits of TM, to date there are 116 scientific papers documenting the Maharishi effect. Of these, 54 empirical studies were published in peer-reviewed scholarly journals and have been demonstrated, their effectiveness has been demonstrated worldwide. These studies have been conducted by different organizations, not necessarily our own, and the Maharishi effect has been shown to be scaled from small towns to states, to ethnic diversity in nations, and to the whole world. And today we have also studies that show transformation in brain coherence, in physiology, in the genetics of the physiology when these people practice the programs together. How does this work? There are 20 theoretical papers on the Maharishi effect. In short, the Maharishi effect is a field phenomenon operating in the consciousness field of the unified field level of natural law. For populations surpassing 8 billion, like the world population, 10,000 people would be enough to create the Maharishi effect and accelerate progress toward world peace. There is a book which is called Consciousness is All There Is, that will be published in a few months, that is Vedantic book that explains Veda and its effects and Vedantic reality and how we can understand it in terms of the meaning of life, being and becoming, inner and outer peace, freedom and determinism, and many other aspects of life. We look forward to seeing this great assembly lead to great decisions and actions from this land of the Veda, Veda Bhumi Bharat, as Vishva Guru, on the most spiritual level, offering and implementing Vedic technologies of consciousness as a perfect science for happiness, health, prosperity, and world peace. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tony Nadarji. A huge round of applause. Thank you and pranams.